Fellows of Indian National Science Academy, Professor Raghavan, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a great pleasure to welcome Professor S.V. Raghavan to deliver us a popular lecture, a public lecture on paradigm shift in research infrastructure and global science cooperation. He has spearheaded one of the most important fundamental areas of support to scientific research, education, and other aspects of Indian life, which I mention a few of them. To say a few words about Professor Raghavan, he did his BSc with physics as principal subject, 1971, from University of Madras, Masters in Engineering in Automation from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and later from IIT Madras, he finished his PhD 1985, had experience in industry, but for a long time he is serving as a professor at IIT Chennai in Department of Computer Science and Engineering. His areas of research including performance evaluation, information security, high performance computing and network, protocol software engineering, multimedia and network design. This creation of education and research network in India is one of his pet subjects in which he has contributed a lot. He is one of the founders of ARNet and has been quite active in research, has more than 100 research papers in international journals, chief editor of a CSI transaction of ICT published by Springer Worldwide. He is a member of Computer Society of India and the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers. He has also been in great demand from several banks, electricity boards, telephone companies, and so on, and is also guiding one of the major institutes as chairman of the Indian Institute of Information Technology at Jabalpur. He has received many honors and awards, including honorary doctorate from Uttarakhand Technical University and also Silver Corps of the International Federation of Information Processing. Currently, he has been associated with the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, Dr. R. Chidambaram, a very well-known scientist, respected fellow of this academy, and to me, a fellow crystallographer also. And he is the principal secretary. When we wanted INSA to be linked with the NKN, it was Dr. Chidambaram's office and particularly involvement of Professor Raghavan which made it possible and very effective. Today, this lecture will also be webcast simultaneously, and with the new developments, perhaps we may also have something more to keep it in our archives, which could be accessed later on. Even today, INSA websites actually makes it available, most of the lectures up to short duration, but you can also seek them over a longer period. So, Professor Raghavan, I have great pleasure in inviting you to deliver your talk. Please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be in a scientific community and also mixed with public interest and talk about what one traditionally thinks as very high technical subject in terms of content. Being a teacher, challenges of this kind is the only thing that keeps us going. And I hope at the end of this lecture, you will have something to say about NKN, something good to say about NKN, and you'll find how interesting things are in this new technology area and how things are unfolding as science develops and how it reaches the society. What I intend to do this evening is tell you some story about how NKN unfolded over a period of time and what kind of thinking went in and how these very large science infrastructure was put together, and also lead you slowly to say how science can make excellent use of it for a tomorrow which is normally seen only in PowerPoint slides for ages. You can actually make it a reality if you want, because you can create the critical mass that's required for any subject area or any large problem that you want to do in this country very simply using NKN. So that's why we call it as a paradigm shift in research infrastructure, because it leads to normally interdisciplinary research, because the questions are very large that are being asked today by the society, and also global science cooperation, simply because distances disappear when you are in a network like NKN. Some years ago, my son sent me this photograph, and he was doing his PhD about Moore's law. On the left is a person who was happy, like when I was a student, or a little beyond that. A modem and a tick-tick sound of the modem, and you are able to send one little electronic mail, maybe 10 words, 20 words. You are really happy, excellent speed, something like 50 bits per second, 100 bits per second, excellent speeds. You are very happy on the left. On the right, modern student is extremely unhappy because the download speed is still 50 megabits per second and many more seconds to go. This is the shift that is taking place in society. When you talk about students, researchers, those who want to do things together, the main difference between the two pictures is that you were having very little data and generation capacity 30 years back, and you have very high capacity to generate data. Take climate change, for example, all subjects it touches. Take astrophysics, it touches all subjects. Take anything like aeroplane design, rocket design, missile design, it touches many subjects. And if you ask them, they will have large number of pictures to exchange. This is on the science and engineering side. If you move to medicine, the kind of images they produce, the quality, quantity they produce, the slices they produce, they keep increasing in number. With the result, the bit generation capability of these applications in medicine is also increasing. They all come on the right-hand side. Now, when you do a networking, normally things take about 2-3 years to get realized, and then it takes about 5 years to use it fully to its capacity. So you have to do something with 10 years ahead in mind when you do the design. So what we believe is, if you want to connect science to society, like what INSA is trying to do, there is something in between. There is science, which discovers new knowledge, creates new knowledge, and there is engineering, which applies it to specific purposes like building blocks, and these building blocks really make the little devices that can be put together like Lego block later for a solution. And then a technology is born, which is a purpose, and this technology uses some basic science, which is converted to directed science, converted to an engineered product with all its perfection, so that the repeatability, whomsoever repeats the process of repetition, they are all well understood, and it is now in a form where society can take it. In society, I also include the business interests, where you can take a technology and look at it as what is the business risk involved in morphing this technology to suit an application purpose. One great example is a mobile phone. It is nothing but a small computer. It has a screen, it has a keyboard, it has a CPU, it has memory, it has communication capability. It's a small computer in your hand. That's the maturity of technology. In fact, one thing about maturity of technology is that a technology becomes mature when noun becomes a verb. Google was a verb, noun. Now when you say, do you know about, have you Googled it? I don't know when it got into the dictionary. So if you observe, technology cannot be thrust on people. It can never be promoted. It can never be pushed into the system. It has to be naturally absorbed by the system. So mobile phone helped people communicate, talk to each other. There was a need there. And here is a technology. And a business risk came in between. And then it became a viable proposition to do business around it. The rest of it is history, how they do it, how they regulate it, and so on. It's a history. So science, engineering, and technology, and mobile's birth has about 30 years of history. How it came to this size. Because the first time mobile users, I don't know, Krishan Lal, if the phone rings, your heart will fail. Because receiving a call is 16 rupees per minute. And from there, the business has to bring it to 0 per minute for receiving. And something else has to make it 0 per minute for making a call. So it is absolutely free. So these are outside of science, engineering, and technology. That is inside the society. Once it gets in, many things play out. So what we do is generate that knowledge which has proximity to engineering excellence, and that engineering excellence which can be packaged into those technologies that can potentially be used in the field. So you have to look at specific instances where you could find a use for it. Other things like nanoscience and related things are feeders into this. It makes things small, manageable, maybe in the ultimate it will be cost effective. And when you go to quantum, you will have some more properties associated with it. Then if you simply say quantum condensed matter, quantum physics, quantum information, books can be written, PhDs can be written, but until it becomes a technology, society will not take cognizance of it. So we have to bring that synergy together, make it as easy as possible so that the knowledge flows. If you see the National Knowledge Network, the way it is written and the logo below, it is Blue Sky Research, National is written in blue, and network is green technology, leading to green technology. A lot of red things happen, impossible things, things that are not allowed to be done normally, they are all done in the knowledge space. You try different things. So why do all this in a society? If you look at United Nations and Human Development Index, there are only 2 pointers that are there in the Human Development Index which are relevant to a nation to take decisions. One is education, other one is healthcare. Both require inclusive approach, which means whatever I do, it has to have ubiquitous appeal and pervasive presence. If I don't have it, it will be very difficult to even expect that this technology or this science or this knowledge or this engineered product is likely to be absorbed by the society. So we need to see how these two can be put together. Now the complexity you have to understand around you. There are a large number of states in this country. I am not putting a number there. So they get created on the fly. There are 650 plus districts. There are 250,000 panchayats. The panchayats are in red dot. The green thing is 600,000 villages. In fact, when I made this picture, I realized what Gandhiji said. India lives in its villages. That's what he said. And it took me several years to understand what he said, very simply. This is the one which you have to cover. So when you design something like NKN, your target population may be anywhere in this spectrum. So if you arbitrarily put your finger in this picture, ideally, you should be within about 50 kilometers of an NKN presence. Otherwise, your network is unlikely to touch people who find it useful in the society. So educational institutions and national labs are the first target because they are the creators of knowledge, as we know. The large number of educational institutions are there in this country. They are almost touching 1,000 now. And national labs, 300-400 are there, and each one has a very large number of PhDs with several years of experience of extremely specific nature. Extreme specialization is a hallmark of people in our country. Extreme specialization are there. So the critical mass combined with extreme specialization can do as much as a LHC can do to high energy physics. And that requires some fusion capability. I'm speaking too much of atomic energy related expressions. It is a proximity effect. So one of the things is, educated nation is a creative nation, and nobody can dispute this sentence. Because you have to do the selling to the market also. And a healthy nation is a productive nation. So if you target these two sectors, which also lies within the Human Development Index, country will be proud. And we came up with this. This is a very simplified diagram of what NKN is today. We identified some points inside the country, which are states and distributed in the districts and so on. You will see the actual complexity of the topology a little later. That too in a simplified diagram. So when you do this, going across India becomes a simple process. Supposing you use it for education or health, what do you expect from a network? You don't want 2-3 people standing around you saying that this is how you should use the network. Then privacy is lost and everybody is listening to what you're doing. If you are doing a classroom teaching, using a network, you don't want any delay on the other side. If you are a surgeon or if you are giving some opinion or somebody is looking at something and then the bleeding is going on and then he wants to give an opinion, the reaction times have to be extremely small. So one hallmark of a good network design is that you need to have end-to-end travel time, called the latency in network parlance, to be extremely small. Somebody puts it at 50 milliseconds, somebody puts it at 40 milliseconds. People keep pushing it down. Now, physics doesn't allow you to push it beyond a point because the photons have to go somewhere and come back. Electrons have to go somewhere and come back. You can't change that. So subject to speed of light and your gadget's ability to manipulate that. So you have to give some fraction there. You can define what will happen between Kashmir and Kanyakumari, or between a state in Northeast, a position in Northeast to Gujarat. You can do the entire rigging. And you can measure what it is and how much. So it requires a holistic thinking of how you would do such a network. Supposing you say on day one, I'm going to do it ab initio and all by myself, it will be a non-starter because you will be busy designing your new engineering and technology, because there's 3 things I showed you. Science takes a long time, followed by engineering. The identification of purpose for which you are engineering this knowledge also will take time, and then the engineered product, then perfection of the technology around that engineered product. All these things together will consume like 20-30 years of evolution. We say evolution because you have to make multiple attempts. And there is a lot of risk in research anyway, everybody knows. In science, it's a very high quality science also has very high amount of risk associated with it. So you can't do it ab initio, you have to do it somehow with the existing system. We picked up BSNL, RailTel and Power Grid, 3 people who have long distance communication capability. So immediate reaction was, very forceful reaction was, oh, it's very difficult to work and these networks don't work. And then it tells you that in engineering they teach you what is called reliability engineering. And it deals with some probability of failures. So if it doesn't work, that means it fails. So you take a clinical view of design, like a doctor, Your kith and kin are in a dying phase or whatever, little suffering, you get perturbed. Doctor doesn't. Suppose you should not be getting perturbed. Doctor doesn't, and he takes a clinical view of it. So like a doctor, I did not get perturbed. I was asking the question, how much? They said it will work only 70% of the time. I said, okay. No, maybe 75 also it is good. And somebody argued in favor and said 85. I said 70 is enough. We will take 50 for design. So you take 2 points in the country, say let Delhi, Bangalore, Delhi, Madras, whatever. You take one line here, it is going to fail 50% of the time. You take 2 lines here, you only have to talk about combined failure, which is 0.25. And I have 3 operators, so I take 2 from each. So it is 0.5 to the power 6. So 1 minus that, my availability is 99.999. Till today, we haven't had a failure in the entire link process. Immediate reaction is, oh, it's a lot of money. See, when you buy things in bulk, all of us know, when you buy things in bulk, price falls. It fell to such a ridiculous extent. It was lower than whatever you would have otherwise thought. Lower than 10% of what you would have otherwise thought, because they didn't know that gigabit and 10 gigabit could be a market. Nobody understood all this. None of us understood at that point. There's a market getting created. Nobody understood that. So what happened was, when you do this a stable network and then you have access there, and then this is a time when country was doing new IITs where people were teaching across the board. People from Chennai, I know my colleagues used to travel to Hyderabad to teach every week. Bombay was doing to Gandhinagar. Guwahati was doing to somebody. Like that, Rajasthan, I think. They were doing the pairs. Now, this facility was just there in time. I think that's what chance meeting prepared mind is called luck, I was told. That's what happened. Immediately, there were so many people who were excited about using it because the latency was very small. You were able to talk to the other side as if you were there. Students liked it simply because of this large presence. Imagine the same thing if it is a hand chalk and talk, it will be a small board. The classroom size and the board size, if you take, it will be very difficult for you to see from the back. It had an excellent impact on the other side. So when you do all this together, the reliability was appreciated. The latency did the work in generating people to use these for certain applications like countrywide classroom, or at least distance classrooms. And then one by one things followed. So at the end of a few months, we saw that there were so many interested groups, interested universities and so on, which started expanding. The Department of Information Technology actually manages the funding of this project. They are holders of this project. And the National Informatics Center, whose presence is there in every district in this country, is actually implementing this network. They have the people, they have places. Actually, network requires a very small equipment to be kept here and there in the country. The network is up and running. If you try to do it yourself, from real estate to people hiring, you have to do it. So if you re-energize an existing system, the system also survives, you also survive. So all we did was to leverage on the multiple availability of the lambdas, as they are called, from 3 service providers, and use the existing infrastructure of NIC to bring it to being. And all these happened in a matter of 6 months. Network was up and running. Today, the Americans who come and visit for connecting to us go on record saying that it is the largest in the world and the most comprehensive in the world. because no other country has all these types of institutions connected into a single network and easily accessible. We look at the other countries, other kinds of networks that are there, some of them European, some of them American, some of them UK, Australia, and so on. We are, as NKN, connected to all of these. Typically, any institution connected on the other side, you should be able to access through the NKN. These are the things, and the technology was much, in terms of complexity handling, much less than what we were handling. So if you look at benefits to education in the large, access to education is always talked about as a topic, and also right to education, social equity, inclusive education, etc., is always a topic of discussion in several fora. Now, this becomes a simple process because you have ubiquitous presence of NKN. Now it is a question of taking it to the people. Quality teachers, quality lectures is another topic of discussion everywhere, saying that if you have things in isolation, you need to create the same excellence in everybody. Getting 10 very good physics teachers in this country should not be a problem. Getting 2 good physics teachers in every university will be a problem. So you have to look at which is the easy problem to solve. This is an easy problem, so technology helps you. So you have to integrate. So actually we wrote in the DPR, as it is called, detailed project report, in the executive summary, that NKN integrates India and the knowledge sources of India. It is not an email network. It is not an internet access network. But since scientists and educationists also require these facilities, they will be present, so that people don't confuse us with competing with ISPs and so on in public. We don't want that. So you have a facility which integrates India and the knowledge sources of India, then you can do things in the large. Expensive labs, for example, can be accessed. See, you have to enable people to see what next and what else. These are very important. Otherwise, interest doesn't get generated in whatever you are saying. And similarly, you should empower them to visualize whatever is possible. For example, if I'm teaching high energy physics, some portion of it, I should have a facility in which I can draw yesterday's or today's or right now what is happening in LHC, bring it over to the classroom and show. Then there will be impact. If I say you go there or somebody is doing it, it won't have impact. I have to experience it. In fact, being a teacher, I will also give my definition of education. Education is just a process. Teaching is only individual action. I can teach. I think I teach very well. People say I'm very articulate, I speak English well, whatever. I was taught in a Tamil medium. I did not know English when I went to college. That's another story. So when you do all this, what is learning? If you teach, the other man should learn. Unfortunately, it is such an autonomous system you can't influence at all at a distance. Learning is an individual experience. So you have to generate enough around that person or individual so that he gets excited about what you're saying. Otherwise, learning doesn't take place. It is learning that is important. It is education process that we design all the time. You start new institutions, new courses, etc. You are doing the process enhancement. What you want is actually learning enhancement. And the teacher, high quality, etc. is only action enhancement. All of them have to be together. And these kinds of things, enable that to happen. And of course, when you do this and then people wonder how this happens, it inculcates automatically the scientific thinking of what next. And of course, in a society like ours, it removes the social and economic differences, which is important. The other side of it, there's a reflection. On the health side, we have public health centers. And if you go to All India Institute of Medical Sciences, a system perhaps designed for about 2,000 patients sees about 20,000 or 2 lakh patients in a day. So obviously, all of us, scientists, engineers, technologists, know when you exercise a system to the limit, efficiency comes. There's a Gujarati proverb also about it. You ought to always be slightly lower paid and slightly over exercised in terms of work output. Then only efficiency will come. That's what the proverb says. You have to push the system to the limits. But what we have done is to push the system beyond limits. Then it will take the escape velocity and get out of the system. It won't be in the orbit at all. So we have to see how to do that. In the health, the simplest thing is to look at where from this load is coming to this place, the public health center. Maybe bulk of the problem can be solved there. Bulk of the problem can be solved there with external help at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and so on. What is called the health referral chain reformation or transformation if you want to call it. So if you do that, then the whole thing changes a lot. Such a network helps you. Then look at the health information itself. It has to be digital because it has to move faster in the referral chain, and highly competent doctors can be accessed. When you say highly competent doctors, there is another latency time that is available. They are not there for all the time. For your case, is such a simple case for this highly specialized doctor, he says, why are you worrying about it? So somebody else has to take that sentence, why are you worrying about it, and translate it elaborately to the person who is suffering, like a philosopher, like a guru, something. And then say locally, that doctor has to say that this is the reason why things will change for you. But this wisdom, he has to get it from somewhere. He may be articulate in the other part. So that requires the connection. And all this leads to timely detection and cure, and of course, it leads to a very productive nation. So we wanted to capture the entire, what is called the topology in a network in a very simple form. Everything is hierarchical in nature. Small actions at the end converge to some reasonably large action, and that the central very large actions take place. In a network also, there's a super core in the center. Very large actions take place. If you look at the super core, you won't recognize anything that is going on because there are multiple 10 gigabits of speed at which things are moving. So when I say a gigabit, it's already a nanosecond for every pulse. So if it crosses that, it drops. So your ability to observe, your ability to understand, everything will go for a 6. It is at that level. Flash. When you come to the edges, it connects with the human being, so it will slowly come down in speed and then talk to the individual. So there are 7 super cores which are fully connected. Fully connected means everybody is connected to everybody else, which means I have in Bombay Hindi 1000 number of alternate routes to go from one place to another place. That's the advantage you have first. Second thing is it gets distributed, and then you parent it in such a way that there is a multiplicity about how you go from one level to another inner level. Again, I think influence of atomic physics. You see some levels of energy there, very high energy inside, and that's how things work. As an outsider, what you have to understand from such a large system is that it is a geographical distribution that we are talking about, and in this geographical distribution, what we have essentially done is to annihilate distance. It disappears, so to say. And near instantaneous observation of events is simply because you have this turnaround time or latency to be extremely low. So that gives you that other ability. So if you put the two together, everybody gets attracted to it because human beings can't do it. You can't see several things at the same time and so on, and very easily interact with long distances. Those of you who have seen telephone calls from the 70s, 80s, and today to the United States will know what latency means. So the design philosophy that we took for NKN is that it is not going to be a static network. It's going to be dynamic. because these technologies will keep rediscovering itself. So the number 1 gigabit may disappear maybe 3 years, 5 years from now. It may be replaced by 10, and the 10 may be replaced by 100. These things will keep on taking place. So you have to survive in that change, which can expand both in reach and speed. So that you have facilities to reach everywhere at that speed that is possible, and you act as a common backbone for everything, so that many people can sit on the top of it. Now it makes it easy for one to make interested groups to come together in what is ubiquitously called in this particular technology regime as virtual private network. They can come together as a single entity. It will only circulate amongst them, they don't have to worry, but they are part of a larger flow. The second thing, the red lines alone I will elaborate. One is called the quality of service. It's extremely important how you provide quality of service. And also the security associated with the large movements. People worry about security a lot in networking because you are there with everybody else. And of course, your life depends on it. You expect high amount of reliability and availability from a system. So when you design the system, that availability, reliability becomes a serious issue. It might be a design issue, it might be an economic issue also, one has to see. But any system can be controlled, administered, and managed very well if it is dedicated and owned. So the entire superstructure has to be dedicated and owned. It can't be belonging to several people. There's no problem in taking 1,000 institutions and saying, I will subscribe to email facility from different sources. But cutting across is a problem. There's no problem in saying I will take internet service from 7,000 sources, no problem. But cutting across for a purpose is a problem. So you can connect anywhere, but you cannot communicate. Now here, it's not just the connection, it is the ability to communicate everywhere, whenever you want. Those types of things become very important. Without infringing upon the autonomy of the institutions that are connected. Each one is an autonomous institution. You can't tell them what to do. But you can always define the interface. But you have to make it so rich and interesting that interface is not a barrier. These are all challenges. So if you look at the spread of institutions, the good ones are in the urban locale. And if you look at universities, they are in semi-urban distribution, if you see. And schools in districts and villages. That's the kind of distribution we have. So people also migrate. That's the reason why they migrate into common places. So when you have a network, this distance disappears, this changes disappear. If you look at telecom service providers, they are called TSPs. They are also concentrated in areas. Some of them are commercial, most of them are commercial, whether they are public or private. They have to make money. So they will be where the business is, where the money is, where the revenue is. So they also tend to concentrate. So if you look at internet service providers, the high-end services and low-end services will be segregated. So if you go anywhere, maybe you can send email, but you can't do anything else. So if you are a Google fan, the fan will stop as you travel into the wilderness. But technology says fibering and wirelessing, if that English is correct, I'm also trying to use noun as a verb, across the country is a step towards well-rounded inclusive growth. You have to think of a solution of that type. So I've told you some story about NKN and what was the thought process behind it and what it is now. I also told how the society looks at it and the nation looks at it and so on. So as scientists, engineers, and technologists, if we want to provide input to the system, it basically comes from education, health, and agriculture. These three parts provide the input to the system for growth. All of us know how to do basic research of our liking. But doing basic research which is directed towards a goal is also a challenge. Similarly, applied research arbitrarily can be done. Directed applied research with a purpose, saying give me that automotive which will run on water or air or something, and it won't cost me, this cost me. You put down everything down and then say, this is the specification, tell me how I should reach there. I create a futuristic scenario and then say, take me there. Do whatever material science you want, do whatever engineering you want, take me there. So while you know how to do science, how to do engineering, how to do technology by itself, the moment you put the overarching direction on the top of it, the whole game changes. And that is where this arbitrarily going vectors, which my boss also refers to as random vectors, to be directed towards a coherent direction. There's a coherent synergy is what is required for progressing a country like India. So how do we do that? So if you have large presence like this, the probability that such coherent synergy groups will be identified will become automatic. That probability will become very high because the sample size is so large. That's the benefit that we have in our society. The institutions are large, number of people are large in everything, and the random vectors are large. Coherent synergy, that also becomes easier. All you have to do is to articulate the direction. That becomes a simple process. So we said we'll try some model projects to say how to use such technology in practice. Some of the model projects are, they fall into education and healthcare type of areas. To look at it simply, one is called a countrywide classroom. So a countrywide classroom can be a camera and a projector on the other side. That is also a countrywide classroom. A countrywide classroom is also one where you are part of 10 other sites like this and you don't experience the change. When you turn around and ask the same way in all the 10 sites. All the 10 cameras behave the same way. That is immersive interaction. That immersive interaction is a huge challenge. There is no technology, there is no solution available today. We are doing a model project on that. If I stand here and show my hand like this to the PowerPoint slide, and one camera picks me up, it will show one side. Supposing I am shown separately, and this is shown separately in another site, and the monitor is on this side, monitor is on that side. If I show like this, it will be all right. I walk there, and I show like this. What will the other monitor show? Slide is here, I am talking like this. This is a serious problem in interaction. So students will start thinking, what is going on here? Why is he showing the other place whereas the slide is here? Immediately the system should switch. And that switching should happen when one transition time or one frame takes place without hurting your eye. If your eye is hurt when you are listening to something, if your ear is hurt if you are listening to something, your concentration goes completely. And your ability to stay on is about 15 to 20 seconds on a matter, subject matter. So whatever you want to convey, you have to convey within 15 to 20 seconds. And whatever you want to change, you have to change in less than 1/25th to 1/30th of a second. Such technologies don't exist. You have to create them. So doing NKN is not a simple job. It's not just connecting by paying money to somebody. Immersive education is the ultimate goal. Where do you go? How do you go? Then sharing of learning material, you can make any shoot, but is it absorbing? Can I distribute it? Do I know what other material is available? So you start by saying, I have 10,000 hours of lectures on something, 20,000 hours, 100,000 hours. You collect all the lectures. You understand the process of distribution. After some time, you will evolve into a technology where if you are looking at something, the related ones will come and tell you. Or if you're hovering around a particular portion saying, I don't understand what this is, that gesture, you are not talking to the machine. You are just hovering around, you are trying to reread, and your residency on a particular page and your mouse presence in a particular area is becoming more and more. I have to give you more information on that part. That's what a teacher does in the class. If I don't touch you with technology, technology will be useless. It has to be personalized. And it has to be personalized automatically, on the fly, real time, online, as you want it on that day. I don't know it. This is something where the workload is not understood. How do you design a system where workload is not understood? How do you make things that react like human beings? So these are the things that come to the mind when you say sharing of material. It's not like I can store it in the file and you can see it from that file. That everybody knows. The major shift, as a paradigm shift, as they call it, has taken place when CERN said, I don't have to log in everywhere, I don't have to do an FTP everywhere, I'll give you what is called the World Wide Web. It does nothing but logging in and doing an FTP for you. The rest of it is, facade. It's making it colorful. Some lines will be there, some pictures will be there, some hand will be there. These are all subsequent additions. So anybody can use that system. So technology has to be made simple. The taxis are not driven by automobile engineers with a PhD. They are driven by high school dropouts as a driver. Whether you give him a small car or you give him a Mercedes-Benz or BMW, I don't know what is the right number to say at the higher end. Because I grew up, I was told Rolls-Royce and Mercedes are the best things. Today, my son says so many other things. So whatever is that thing, you put it there. That is driven by a person who has not been educated. That is where technology maturity comes in. So all we do in the networking exercise has to reach that level of maturity. I am not saying it's going to do it in one day. So that's important. But when you want to do commercial capital out of it, then you have to say, if you pay me 2 lakhs, I'll give you a car, will take you places. I won't guarantee what will happen to you when you have a head-on collision. If you give me 1 crore, you have a head-on collision with any truck, you can open the door and walk out, I guarantee. That's the only difference between these two cars. 2 lakhs and 1 crore, that's the only difference. The rest of it is required to do this guarantee, goes into the system. So how do you have the sharing, learning, which is automatic, which touches you? Similarly, if you go to healthcare, the whole game changes. It's a dynamic system, the healthcare. It's not like laws of physics. It goes there inside the community. Outbreaks, new problems, new diseases, new viruses. Dynamically people have to be educated. New drugs that are found, new formulas that are there. So that, how do you get it into the system? And how do you share cases, rarest of the rare cases that come to different places, how do you share them across the board? So you see here some pictures which are talking about how these things were put together. On the left top, you see the classroom as you would see in an IIT. The bottom is actually a rural classroom. It's in a village somewhere. This was done as a part of Atomic Energy's outreach exercise. In fact, when this was inaugurated, I was in my office in Delhi and Dr. Anil Kakodkar was there in that particular place in that village. And we were talking to each other and the whole clarity was phenomenally good. Excepting this, I couldn't speak Marathi, everything else was all right. So that's where language translation becomes another next goal. When you look at right-hand side top, CollabCAD is like a national asset. It's a digital diagnostic system generated by NIC, AIMS, and CSIO Chandigarh. It's a collaborative thing and collaborative tool. And with this, you can see image and manipulate image and have discussions and come to a conclusion. Where they have what is called, tumor board meeting or something like that, they do it remotely. The bottom one is familiar to physicists. It's in Geneva, Lifeline for high energy physics, and several places where it simply flows. Whenever there is a collision, we have a big hit on NKN because gigabits flow until the next collision. And of course, fortunately, they decide what to observe, so they reduce the load. They decide, I will bring everything, I'll observe later, I'm finished. So looking at all this, what's the potential of NKN in the large? How do we see the tomorrow? with NKN. There are IITs, IISc in that, NITs, IIITs, central universities, state universities, all national labs, IIMs, ICERs, medical institutions, 160 medical institutions are there. All of them are there. And at the bottom you see talented and gifted children of India are also there in the connected. Now we have to see how to create synergistic groups on this. And how do we solve larger problems with this? And how do we define larger goals as a result of doing this? So this is the potential that has been generated. That is why NKN becomes interesting. One-off classroom sharing, I'm able to teach my class when I'm traveling to Delhi. I'm not missing my class. It's okay. But it is not really teaching a very high-end course where part of the course expertise can come only from one particular source. And that source has to be sourced everywhere so that the 40, 50 lectures are to be sourced from 10 different places and student gets a single integrated whole, which is otherwise not possible. I'm cutting across all the academic administrative system responsibilities that might come in the way to say that this is a creditable course, etc., etc. They will come automatically, but we have to create that ambience. So what is the key changes? The trends are, we were in some 100 megabits or something at the highest end when we started. We made 1 gigabit the lowest end, and 10, 100, and so on. We move in that direction. The communication needs we see are doubling every month. Some time back, one of our engineers were in BHU, Banaras Hindu University. Suddenly there was an outburst of load, etc. So we were trying to investigate what they do. Finally, we find that the medical school of BHU downloads YouTube videos to look at them, and they happen to have some surgery examination next day. So they are looking at every possible thing on YouTube. So every download they consume 2 megabits, and there are enough students. They're looking at enough things. There are 2,000 points into which it is getting distributed. So you have a choking problem. So that type of expanse takes place, no matter where it comes from. So distribution of computation and distribution of databases are all possible. Now, if I have key results in a certain area, it makes it easy for me to share with others. I'll tell you how these systems are built for sharing. And then you can also change it constantly. And you can see the growth from nanoscience to nanoelectronics to fiber laser to photonics to silicon photonics integration to do the next generation communication technology. See, at one end, you would think it's all physics or material science or chemistry, whatever. Anything prefixed to nano works. As you progress and then say silicon photonics integration, you are really talking about using a fiber for a purpose. That's what I said, science to engineering to technology, how the knowledge flows. So I look at National Knowledge Network at the base. What we do is to do what are called application-specific grids. In fact, we had a very interesting meeting about 2.5 years back in ICMR headquarters. At the end of 2 to 3 hours, we wanted to close the meeting because lunchtime was there. They asked only 2 questions. What is the most ununderstood organ? Everybody said brain. Until then, they were saying what are all the things that medical science can do, etc., etc. What is the disease that is bothering everybody, and where would you concentrate? Is it cancer? So we created 2 grids, one called brain grid, other called cancer grid. In the brain grid, we immediately found 40 people working on only one problem called Alzheimer. Now there is a lot of demand from autism to Alzheimer, low age group to high age group. Everybody is saying, I want to look at this part of the problem. Basically, to us as technology people, it looks like they are exchanging images and some demographic data and some patient data. But the quality of images that they exchange is really, really impressive. So if you look at cancer grid and then look at science, there is molecular biology person, there's cell research, whatever tissues, cells, cancer research of all kinds, all organs, cancer clinical practice of all kinds, genetic research associated with it, all types of markers are being developed now, and imaging research. Different types of research are taking place. And what people are trying to do in these grids or subgrids of that is basically what I would call as translational research. They take knowledge from each one of these groups and put it together for a purpose. And what is that purpose? A group of people say, we will do an integrated approach to a specific cancer. And then why are they doing it? They say tomorrow is in personalized medicine, in diagnostics, therapy, and cure. See how they are thinking and how the whole thing is being used. So this is the change that is taking place around us. And we are all going to be beneficiaries of this change that is taking place around us. This kind of personalized medicine, anybody you ask, he'll say, I have to titrate the dose for you, is the English that medical doctor uses. You are a medical doctor, right? Medical doctor. I never, titration I only knew in chemistry lab in school or college. Here only I knew titration of a dose. You just keep going up and down. Now that is at the very, very macro level. And this is they are doing at the nano level, molecular level actually. And this molecular level they want to say, I will design this for you so that it works for you. Amazing things are there. If you read the papers in PubMed wrote, amazing results are coming there. Look at the same with brain grid. Everything else is the same, so that technology-wise we don't see a difference after creating the grid. Just bring down people, bring together people. What they are doing, dimensions of Alzheimer. There are several dimensions to Alzheimer. Same molecular biology people, another set of people, but focused towards this disease. Then brain research people, which are functional in nature. Clinical practice related to that. Genetic research, again, degradation related. And imaging research. Mostly we see MRI related interest, but they also now started augmenting it with other modalities of imaging for accuracy. All they do is to integrated approach to Alzheimer. All they are saying is, if I have a good method, which in engineering parlance I will call a simulator, by early parameters I will say that he is likely to get into Alzheimer if he continues at this rate in 5 years. And I can slow it down. Once he is inside, I can't do anything about it. I can only make sure that he is comfortable. Then what is called palliative things will be done. But if he is tending towards that, he says, I can upset the trend. And there they want this research. And number of people, etc., if they say in the society, that's an alarming number. Personalized medicine, diagnostic, therapy, and cure. That is the same. So you see the similarity in things. On the top, the goal is the same. At the bottom, the instruments are the same, National Knowledge Network and the grids that are created. Just that the purpose makes the deviation, like brain, and then you see what they are looking at, one particular problem that can arise out of malfunction somewhere. Aging-related disease. And once you know how to deal with these things, then immediately autism people come and say, oh, I can also use it for something else. Then it is exponential growth of applications. This is where we find very, very interesting offshoots of how people try and use these technologies for the better. So I would like to welcome you to the new world. Whatever I said, you can say is obsolete. And what you will see tomorrow, networks of the world and future, which every country is planning now, and we are also planning. It will run on multiples of 100 gigabits, rapidly moving to 400. And if you ask for entry point into NKN less than 10 gigabits, you may not get it, because it is not there. So these things change very fast there. And what is happening is this distribution at 100 gigabits and fiber at devices at 10 gigabits, wireless at 100 gigabits short range, 1 gigabit commodity range along whatever associated devices. They are all coming into focus now. So the basic network that you have has to carry all that. Fortunately, we focused on scale and speed, and we didn't say this is the number and this is the speed. We only put a process in place so that NKN can rediscover itself every 3 years, every 5 years. We did not put a solution in place. We demonstrated a solution. We demonstrated the possibilities through model projects. So if you look at the other two things that are happening alongside in science is the big science and big data. What is big science? Is the one which generates large amounts of data is the big science. Big data, if you say, there's also business data that is available from which they want to make sense to make decisions. Whereas science looks at what else is sitting out there, which I'm not able to see by my theory, what new theory can be generated. Astrophysics is an excellent example of this big science. In fact, maximum time interaction in big science for me goes into talking to Ajit, what is the second name? Ajit Kembavi and his group. They have phenomenal requirements all the time. And our participation in things like LIGO and others make this data handling requirement, ability to handle data becomes very important, because these are all observed from all over the world and we can get an integrated picture sitting in one place. So naturally things are moving in the direction. The collaborative science in the global space is also moving in that direction. Any climate modeling that you run, you also get data from others who observe the space, others who observe their oceans. You may observe Indian Ocean and the neighborhood, etc., and provide temperature data to some other people. Somebody else observes their oceans and give you. The model requires all these in an integrated form so that you can say what is going to start and how it is going to move at your place. Coming down to 3 days prediction to 1 day prediction and hourly prediction, these are all exponential efforts. Not exponential, it must be something bigger than that. I don't know, whatever that equation is. That's the complexity that we are able to handle in today's world. And technology makes it possible. And something like NKN is a good candidate for it because it has been conceived with the largeness in mind in terms of application and usage. And when you do all this, obviously people will be worried about what happens to India. Everything is connected and I'm connected to one place, everything will go out, I'll get totally exposed. These kinds of fears will come. I don't think there's any need to fear. It's an absolutely secure network. You can't come and disturb NKN because there is a stopping point at every connection of this 1500 which talks about an integrated threat management coming out of that institution, and also has a box which says this network security access method, which is at that point of interface, which can be running the policy of the institution itself so that they don't generate problems to the network. So if somebody in 1500 is affected, nobody else will be affected in NKN because it cannot come inside, number one. The second thing is, as and when these things happen, supposing you are in a commodity network and then say, my email comes from this source, etc., Clinicum, but others say what we call as generic services, they are also part of NKN. Very simple things like holding some 2000 servers for throwing in whatever, several terabytes of disk. These are all part of NKN. They are all available for the asking because this is no big deal, putting in these resources. So generating knowledge, sharing knowledge, creating synergistic groups, large problem solving is there for the asking. Now it's up to you to see what next. Here is an example. If I want to solve the health referral chain problem, on one side I will have a diagnostic dome which picks up parameters of the person. On the other side, there will be a human simulator which will tell him when to refer it to a specialist. I should move there. Parameters, don't tell me that I don't have digital X-ray here, digital mammography here, digital ultrasound here. Don't worry about all that. The entire electromagnetic spectrum, MEMS people say they can pick it up from a distance. So you can visualize a diagnostic dome, 20 meters, 30 meters, whatever this accuracy people want. Sick man walks in, healthy man walks out. Should be possible theoretically. As you walk in, you should be measured from all whatever parameters you want. You can have a multi-dimensional matrix immediately filled in using this electromagnetic spectrum. Don't no pricking, no nothing. You should be able to pick up the light, infrared, near infrared, and do whatever you want. I'm sure if we can do the mapping for invasive type of investigation, there will be a time when there will be a mapping available by extensive studies available for non-invasive type, non-ionizing, non-invasive. So if we concentrate on non-invasive, non-ionizing measurements and have a diagnostic dome, don't ask me where is power in a village and all that, do solar power. Do a project of that kind. I was asking Dr. Krishan Lal, when somebody said, I will put a man in the moon, did they know the science of it or the engineering of it? Leave the technology. They did it later, that I know. The answer I got was they knew the science, but they didn't have the engineering. That's where it starts. But they did put the man in the moon and they are repeating it. Everybody is repeating it. So if you say that non-ionizing, non-radiating is the way to measure, every MEMS, every nano, every sensor that is made in this country, every innovation that comes, will start focusing on that. That gives you the parameters you want. It's up to the doctors to figure out how they will build a huge database which will tell them how to make sense out of these measurements. And then the simulator will tell you, so that anybody who is like an operator, a paramedic, can use the simulator as an expert to do a first cut of resolution. So you'll have a healthy nation, you'll have a productive nation, the bulk of the problems will get solved. And you see the amount of money you generate as a result of it. A poor guy sells his land, sells his house, travels all the way, comes to Delhi or goes to any other place nearby to get medical treatment. His whole life saving is lost in the process. Poor guys sell everything and then put their children in colleges. Whole savings is lost. You see the amount of wealth that you create in the process. Unimaginable. But you have to work towards that goal, larger goal. So this human simulated diagnostic dome is going to make a huge difference. It's my personal impression. It is not an NKN official statement. Don't use X-rays. Which one is non-ready? Okay. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raghavan, for very comprehensive description of the NKN, the basic spirit, the range in which it works and the depth to which it can go, and both in terms of fundamental science and applications in wide variety of areas. So now it is open for discussion. Perhaps you have to define what is non-ionizing. A physicist like me feels more comfortable to do that, but better you do it.
No radiation and no invasive attempt. I said non-ionizing, non-invasive. Did I say non-radiating? No. Then it must have been a mistake in my sentence. It is non-ionizing and non-invasive.
Yes, sir. Please identify yourself and then ask the question. एक करके. Identify yourself.
My name is H.K. Agarwal. I am a chartered engineer. And you said that we will be able to eliminate the selling of land for health and education. Is it much cheaper as compared to the present system? Thank you so much.
It's free as of now. Actually, somebody asked this question in the US. It's a capitalist economy where money has to come back. Ours is a socialist democracy only goodwill comes back. We do social investment, we don't spend, we don't expend. We do social investment and goodwill comes back. That's how a nation grows.
Yes, sir. After listening to you with rapt attention, myself is Umesh Prasad Singh, an ex-student of University of Calcutta. You spoke about individual consciousness with respect to national knowledge network, which attracted my attention. My mind goes to T.S. Eliot's essay when he speaks about tradition and individual talent. In education, sir, I feel that...
I'm sorry, you have to be brief, only to the point, ask your question.
That's what I'm asking.
Not a speech, please.
No, I'm not delivering a lecture. I'm just asking a question that with respect to education, individual awareness, which you mentioned, that attracted my attention, in what way that is connected to the present system of education in which we are now going through. Just elaborate 1 or 2 points in that regard. That really attracted me very much.
This ICT space doesn't have boundaries, whereas the present system has got boundaries. In fact, boundaries in the form of compound walls. It has to be within that university or system or something. That's how it's that's why I said academic administrative decisions will follow eventually. I said somewhere in the beginning. I must have said. Did I? You are watching me closely. So she vouches for it. If I slip in English, I'm going to refer to her. So that is the thing. That will change only over a period of time. Because those people who take such decisions about crediting across the system, they will have to appreciate together. Because somebody may even fear that if I agree and tomorrow your network doesn't work or your teacher doesn't come to the class, my student may go to court and then say, I paid the fees, I didn't get the lecture. What will I do? These kinds of questions can be asked. So one has to overcome that fear.
Yes, sir.
There's also somebody here. Sir.
My name is B.B. Gupta. I am coming from Ghaziabad. I am mechanical engineer from IIT Madras. Have worked with Department of Atomic Energy for Nuclear Power Corporation. I want to know, you see, some good research have been done in India. I'll give one example. More than machine producing more than one efficiency. People may not feel it is right, but I am feeling it is very, very right. Because if you apply Newton's third law, where reaction, equal and opposite reaction, inefficiency is a reaction, so over efficiency is its reaction, action and reaction. And that has not been supported in this country. It has been done in India.
It is your question.
I know that, you see, in India, one Mr. Paramhans Tiwari, he is an employee of Nuclear Power Corporation. He has developed a machine giving efficiency more than one. More than one.
Very nice. Wonderful.
So how NKN can help in that?
NKN कहाँ से कर देगा 100% से ज़्यादा? कोई भी नहीं कर सकता. Nobody can.
So there's somebody there also.
एक मिनट.
Some gentleman.
Just one moment. That person is waiting.
I'm Sangwan, citizen. Sir, you must have read a paper on 3rd April in Nature, a 3-page note which talks about Indian science, free Indian science. I think the complete title would have been Free Indian Science from the Scientific Academic Mafia. How we have progressed much more before independent India and in the beginning years of independence in science. After that, we have miserably failed. You wanted to talk about the global science cooperation. You didn't say a single word about that. I have studied in Russia also, did second doctorate from there. We had great relation with Russia. America was largely benefited by their technology. Israel has maximum benefit. We miserably failed. What did you advise to the government? How this National Knowledge Commission or National Knowledge Network is going to help me here? Last person of Gandhi is in the village. And what you advise to the government till date? What are the results available to the ordinary citizen of the 6 lakh villages of India? And I'm very pleasantly surprised that the last fag of your life you have come to know that India still lives in villages. This is how the information is going to the last citizen of this country. Thank you very much.
What is the question?
That is the science.
Sir, I'm Dr. Mohanlal, ex-scientist from National Physical Laboratory. I really admire your journey for this new kind of approach to teach us, the scientific community. My question is related with the virtual labs. I am associated with IIT Delhi for last 3-4 years to put these virtual labs in my institute. We really admire for that, but there is a problem in time framework. So can you elaborate something to ask these kind of the network systems, like they have spent the 6,000 crores in these kind of MHRD programs in Bombay also, IIT Bombay and Delhi also. So, but time framework is 3-4 years. There is not much impact on the Indian side. This is my worry. Can you say something about this?
I wrote my first report about using gigabit in 2003. 2003.
Right.
It was called, I think, Vishwarupam or something. Yeah, I must also tell you, I don't know anything else other than networking and cyber security and a few other things. That's all I know in life. Of course, I studied BSc to come there, physics. The 2003 to 2007, it took time for the system to absorb that it is worth looking at. And 2008, Prime Minister declared in the Parliament it will be done. 2009, a pilot project was dedicated to the nation by the then President. And it is 2010 March, Cabinet actually approved it as a project. You have to hold on. Then it will work. The virtual labs, etc., it is not 6,000 crore investment. You are getting the numbers wrong. If I remember right, that project of MHRD, which looks at virtual lab and sharing, is only about 68 crores or so, which has about 900 and odd experiments already done across the system. And they are trying to understand how to share it effectively. Because sharing it effectively as a virtual lab is not a trivial job. They are trying to conquer that. They are able to generate it, they are able to show it to you, but give it to you is very difficult. That's what they are trying to scale. Last 2.5 years, they have been able to produce about close to 1,000 experiments.
How do we access
एक
it
मिनट
as
जरा
an
ये ले
individual,
लें,
as
microphone.
a fellow of the INSA Academy? I want to have access. For example, I wish to know everything that is known about Alzheimer's. How do I access the system?
One general availability is ncan.in is an open website. So wherever you are, you can look at the website and then see what is happening. If you want to be part of it and do something, INSA is connected. Through INSA, you can.
INSA is a part of INSA. Actually, this was our first interaction. Then I thought,
How common man will get benefited from this? We
एक मिनट Khalid. One, I have to stop somewhere here. Yes. Then.
Wonderful presentation, Professor Raghavan. First of all, I would like to thank Krishna Lal sir, who has organized this. And I am Engineer Sharad Gupta, a 79 batch electronics and telecom engineer from Jabalpur Engineering College. And I am a Maritime Bravery Awardee for 2005 fire at Mumbai High. And recently, as you know, sir, there was a fire at major fire at Vasant Kunj. I am from Vasant Kunj, and in which 800 slum 800 juggies are gutted. I was a part of the firefighting team. Then I said, okay, as we all say, prevention is better than cure. So I came across one vacant land which is close to Masonic School, in which 1200 students study. And that is a massive fire hazard. I contacted everyone from fire department. They said yes, our fire things say that if there is a fire, we can fight it, but we cannot prevent. Unfortunately, our regulations do not permit that. So then I went ahead with disaster management and all that. Now I am coming across some difficulties from the society. They say, why are you doing this? What is your interest? That is my first question, sir.
How is it related to NKN and science?
Sir, it is directly related because society has something they say, okay, there was a Upar cinema tragedy in which 69 people were killed, and they are ready for candle march and solidarity, etc. later on, but prevention they are not ready.
Chalo, theek hai, you have made a good point that NKN in future can also look about hazard.
Okay. Sir, my second question is about cancer. I was a speaker at Vigyan Bhavan recently. Sir, cancer ka. Sir, how can I get a copy of your presentation, sir? This is wonderful presentation. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, इधर दीजिए microphone. Then here, इसके बाद.
Sir, I'm Pishir also from Delhi University. Shall I continue? Now, it's a very good talk, very good effort from the country point of view of national network which is going to be created. What you discussed mostly was education, healthcare, agriculture, you only passing remarks you would give. I just want to have one more point integrated with this, and possibly it may be considered as a comment or a question, that the major problem being faced by the nation, the big nations, is the population increasing and therefore employment generation. And this problem can be integrated with the national knowledge network or not. Up till now, the worry has not been there because the problems are being handled. Healthcare, education is part of it. It will reduce, in a way, the number of people. Good experts, number of good experts exists very less in number. And therefore, employment generation for the masses, which is more, I do not know, in the business side, or it is integrated with this. This is the question.
Ministry of Labor and Employment is seized of this problem, and the Skill Development Council is using NKN and related, they are doing some enhancement to it to reach their places of interest, which will do specific things for large scale job generation or employability of people who are produced by institutions.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Alka Munjal from Amity University. This is a wonderful example of innovation monetization. But my question to you is that how will we link it with the Ministry of HR and UGC and other regulatory bodies so that it comes into mainframe from knowledge to probably qualifications, which you touched upon very briefly. But what steps are we taking as a community to do that?
All MHRD institutions which are called CFTIs are part of NKN. They have handed it over.
Credit transfer, sir, is what really...
Credit transfer is an administrative problem inside an academic institution. It is an autonomous institution. NKN is an entity which is outside. So all I am saying is these people are all connected. UGC is also connected to NKN. I keep telling everybody what all can be done, like what I did today. Someday things will change. Individuals have to develop that confidence. Technology cannot be pushed in, it has to be absorbed.
Dr. Ishwaran?
Dr. S.V. Ishwaran from St. Stephen's College. I taught there for 44 years. I'm currently Emeritus Scientist CSIR at the same institution. Very brief query. You've already partly answered it largely. You gave it in very mild humor that the taxi driver is not the high-end product driving the best of the taxis. how do we filter? And this I am seeing from personal observation, that whenever we have come to such possibilities, how do we ensure that we filter away and get the very best, the live wire teachers, the live wire doctors, in a lively fashion?
1 year later, I will tell you. I'm doing another project called a DTH, Direct to Home, where there are 213 studios across the country in all these institutions, 50 channels of education through the transponder. And it is directly picked up from the class and beamed up, down, etc. Well, the main question that's being asked is, how do you know he's a good teacher who is going into the class? You can't answer it very easily, right? It has to evolve as a local solution. So we have two models. One is geographically distributed observation and a collection of people. Another one is we have subject-wise people who come together and then who respect each other. Science is done by scientists and education done by educationists. They have to respect each other. So that mutual respect has to evolve into a smaller group. And in that process you will find it has to evolve. It should not be enforced. The moment you say filter, that means you have a model, you know the parameters of the model, and you are playing God. I don't know how to play God. But enabling is possible. We have written in NKN, it is enabling, enriching, empowering, and encouraging. It doesn't control. It doesn't filter. That has an evolutionary process. Then it will be stable over time. Otherwise it won't be stable. Somebody like him will come and say NKN Mafia tomorrow, like Science Mafia. Just taking a lighter side of things.
I am Selvamurthy from Amity University. It's a great contribution under your leadership in terms of creating this vast network. And my question is, how is this utility in terms of the capacity currently available in NKN? The second is, what is the plan for expanding the capacity in terms of next 5 years? What are your plans? Third is, how is it connected to international database?
We are database, I don't know. We are connecting 1,500 institutions in the country. So far we have crossed 1,200 as of last month. Most of the institutions that you can think of are already connected. The second thing is, internationally we are present in New York, Amsterdam, Geneva, and Singapore directly. And all the world networks connect there. Utility is, it's only 10 gigabits. You leave it to Sailesh Nag, he will eat it up. You know, he's the Earth Sciences Secretary. He will, the flow that takes place for climate science is very high. He was my class fellow, batch fellow in the IASC. So. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Professor Raghavan, in your last slide you have shown Dr. Sarojit Dudeja. In your last slide you have shown a human going to village dorm where we will come out with healthy. I think Indian system itself is a perfect system if you take proper food. Itself is a food is a medicine and medicine is a food. And we don't take proper food, that's why problems are there. And Indian system, Ayurveda, yoga can be fruitful in this respect.
Put enough food inside and canteen inside diagnostic dome, let him come out healthy. I have no problem. I don't know what you do inside the diagnostic dome. I can only tell what I know. It's a concept. How actually it is realized is a matter of detail. You can have multiple also. Ayurvedic diagnostic dome, homeopathic diagnostic dome, all that can be done.
These are, up to certain extent, they are all very wonderful. But when you are emergency, you don't go to a Ayurvedic one. You go to AIIMS.
That is an opinion, so you can clash with each other.
I always find,
Take it
you
easy.
look at AIIMS, all the emergency people go there.
Well, Doctor, my name is Devendra Pandey. I'm also from Amity University. Wonderful presentation, very clear. I have one question, that how this NKN is related to EduSat? Because I think this whole thing technologically must be moving with the help of the satellites. So do you have any kind of the linkage with the EduSat, with the Department
Actually,
of Space?
you must look at history of development in India for what various things. They started with some borrowed satellite with the US in the beginning. They did site experiment. And then subsequently in the 80s or 90s, they launched this EduSat for education purposes. All these helped us propagate the fact that technology can be used for reaching out and teaching people. That's only one line you got out of the entire experiment. Now, EduSat is a concept that says you can reach out. This DTH project which we have designed basically draws out of strengths and learnings from these previous ones and then says if you are given 50 channels, how will you do? Actual cabinet sanction is for 1,000 channels in education. We only taken 50 as a pilot experiment. 213 studios, and he is asking question, how do you know he is a good teacher? We have to solve all these problems to evolve into that stage.
Thank you.
We have to carefully do that steps.
Generally, last phase is for young people. Today, unfortunately, because of the vacation time, we don't have many students. But still, I will leave it to very young people.
He looks young.
बाल वालों को जरा मुश्किल है.
No, he had dyed his hair.
चलो, okay, dyed hair, चलो. Young man was amazing. You are very young.
I'm Jitendra. I'm a government servant and present here in personal capacity. My question is slightly off the cuff. We are having another network called NOFN, National Optical Fiber Network, which will connect all the panchayats. So NK was conceived earlier than NOFN. Do we have any synergy with NKN and NOFN at the edge-link level? And will the schools be connected with this NKN? And India is also learning a Pan-African network. So we are connecting.
Have the answer to all the questions that you're going to ask. I am the chief architect for both. So don't worry. There are certain ground realities which you have to take cognizance of, but ultimately they will be together because this goes to districts and that starts from a block and go to panchayats. It will be put together.
And will you connect into Pan-Africa network?
Because that's a simple problem. That's a very simple problem.
अब मान जाओ आप ठीक कह रहे हैं.
Because we are connected to New York and Europe, but not to Africa, and India is running a network there. Same thing.
इतना बढ़ेगा ना उसी से. ऐसे facility दें.
Thank you for a very nice presentation. I'm Dhansing. My question is relating to how is this NKN relating to how is the...
Tell your name first.
Good evening, sir. It was a very nice presentation. My name is Dhansing. I want to know how is the this national knowledge network will be leveraging the cloud technology also. Thank you, sir.
Elephant and mosquito bite. It is all there. There are at least 400-500 servers on different types of clouds inside NKN. That's not a great thing for us. It's just there. If you want, it will be there.
Good evening, sir. My name is Hirday Raj. I'm actually previously from IIT Madras and currently from THSTA, Gurgaon. My question is actually, what is NKN doing with the WiMAX? Is there any plan on WiMAX? Because India has so much villages, I think so WiMAX can solve your problem. Is there any development going on that side?
You asked about NOFN. NOFN has a edge distribution which will be handled by using WiMAX and such other related technologies.
Thank you.
Chalo, one exception at the end. Now only one, and that's here. That's it.
You said young person.
I am Dr. Parikshit from IARI Indian Research Institute. Sir, my question is, not question, I want to seek your comments. See, NKN, can it help us to withstand or preempt every time we hear from western border as well as northeast, northwest infiltrations? Can it help the government to preempt those, you can say, their infiltrations and then they're coming into our areas? Please.
There are people in the same room who deal with similar technologies, do exactly what you are saying. Unfortunately, I can't identify them in public. I know them, I see them.
I'm A. Gulati. I wanted to understand that if you have set up this national knowledge network on such a fast basis, you mentioned that once the decision the Prime Minister took, why is it that the defense optical fiber cable network is not up and running? That is also related, but that should be completely independent of this. It's just not directly related, but a simple comment. That should also be expedited because that's a completely independent channel of network for data.
What do you have for
emergency
breakfast?
situations.
What do you have for breakfast normally?
Anything which is cooked well.
At
So
home?
if there is some good
At home?
network, we
At
can
home
have
or
it.
at home or you buy
home.
it?
Yes.
At home. Supposing you start tendering every day's breakfast.
Okay.
Will you ever have your breakfast?
So is it the physical tenders which is a problem?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I just asked you 2 questions because you asked me some questions. Rest of it is up to you to infer.
I think we have to now close it. Could you
Yes, sure.
give me a minute? Thank you very much, Sir Raghavan, for this very comprehensive presentation, then very good discussion, different aspects. Maybe all of you did not get what answers you have in mind, but that is very normal. Only, as I said today, the number of students is a little bit less and we miss them. Hopefully after the vacations are over, this will be back in position. And I also thank our INSA team, particularly S.K. Sahani and his group, Alok Moitra and Sunil Zokarkar and all our friends, particularly Karthikeyan, because he is also helping in making sure this is webcast. And I think Raghavan's name will bring, I think, several hundred more computers into the network for this lecture. And this is always a very pleasant experience to be here. And I'm very happy presiding over this lecture first time after the renovation of the auditorium. It looks much better than earlier. So for this also, all congratulations to our INSA team and all the people who worked hard on this thing. I may also mention that the next lecture will be on communicating science with public and policy makers, to be delivered by very popular writer, Professor D. Balu Subramaniam, who is Director of Research at L.V. Prasad Eye Research Institute in Hyderabad. It will be on 11th June at 4 p.m. So before we conclude, we have a small ritual to give a token of our thankfulness to the speaker. So I have a pleasure to